So chocolates, varieties of coffee, different teas, cool drinks, nice furniture, leather-bound files, nice music, all of that stuff uh, can no longer be delivered in the virtual world in which we work. Or can it? Let's find out. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another show, episode 6 of season 3. Wow, I get goosebumps. Yeah, I love this show and I love what I do on a Friday morning. I wish we could still do it every day. I would so love that. Anyway, warm welcome this morning. Really getting into delivering a new required level of customer experience this morning and seeing what we can do in this new world, because there's a few things that changed. So I'm going to go through like what was it like in the sort of what I would like to term now the old world, and then what would create great experiences in the new world. And we'll go through quite a few other stuff, and I'll give you also 3 ideas of how you can level up your customer experience. But not only that, I'm also going to share what you can do in order to keep leveling up, because that is so important for me, that when you stand still, you're actually moving backwards, or somebody's going to come from behind and run you over. So absolutely critical. Let's start off today. There's quite a few things happening. The special segment today is Brand Works with Rizanne Oosthuisen, and she's going to talk about the digital state in 2022, or the state of digital. So that's that report that comes out every year. And really something I've never seen her so excited. So hang on for that. That comes after the main segment. And then we have David Kopp with the FPI Current Affairs. And we also have Norma with Coach's Corner. And I've got a couple of amazing announcements. Well, one is definitely going to blow your hair back, and excited to announce that. But anyway, let's get on with the show and head on over to David and listen to what the latest current affairs are. David, here we go.
Hello, and happy Friday, everyone, ahead of a long weekend, thanks to Human Rights Day on Monday. So in today's current affairs, the state of disaster to end soon. The Department of Social Security is making some noise. The Australian Quality of Advice Review and rap battles. So state of disaster. After being in a state of disaster for nearly 2 years due to the pandemic, it seems that the state of disaster is going to end soon. Well, sort of. The Health Department has published regulations under the National Health Act, which will replace the regulations under the state of disaster. As reported on News 24, according to a statement by the Department of Health, the proposed regulations aim to introduce control measures which will include the surveillance and the control of notifiable medical conditions, public health measures in points of entry, management of human remains, and regulations relating to environmental health. So while it was prompted by the COVID pandemic, it is much more than that. It is a 157-page document, and members of the public have 30 days from March 15, when they were published, to comment on the proposed regulations. The Department of Health has said once the regulations have been approved, it will not be going to Parliament, because they believe they've already been delegated the authority to implement these regulations. Then, hot on the heels of National Treasury's paper into retirement reform, the Department of Social Development is not being left behind. In terms of their annual performance plan, they've issued a few items that they're going to be looking at this year. And the first one being the basic income grant, which is undergoing a feasibility assessment. Then they're also talking about mandatory contributions to retirement, death and disability funds. So they aim to complete the policy proposals on social security reform, which has again been something that has been going on for the last 9 or 10 years, including extending social assistance, mandatory contributions to retirement, death and disability, a platform for informal sector workers to participate in social security coverage, an appropriate institutional architecture for a sustainable social security system. So again, very similar to things that were issued in the National Treasury paper. So it will be interesting to see how aligned the Department of Social Security and National Treasury is. Then, after the Royal Commission into Financial Services, Australia has announced a Quality of Advice Review. So as part of their commitment to ensure Australians have access to high quality and affordable advice, the Morrison government has announced the terms of reference for a quality advice review and the appointment of a Miss Michelle Levy as the reviewer. The review presents an opportunity to assess the regulatory framework that could deliver better outcomes for consumers. Okay, so this is something that is keen to watch, particularly since we are in the final stages of our retail distribution review in South Africa. And so now, before rap battles, it might be a recent invention, but before rap battles, we had flighting. So the word flighting comes from the Old English word for quarrel. Something like today's rap battles, the purpose of flighting was to craft poetic insults so devastating to your competitor that they'd be too insulted to muster a comeback. One recorded exchange is known as the flighting of Dunbar and Kennedy, in which Kennedy tells Dunbar, "You look like the crows already ate your cheeks. Renounce, rebel, your rhymes and sorry sheiks." What a burn. So on that, back to you, Francois.
Righty, so next up, Norma with Coach's Corner and continuing her 4-part series on relationships. And today talking about a instruction manual for the people in her life. Looking forward to this one, Norma. Let's go.
Good morning. So I'm continuing the series on relationships. And Francois always thinks that these topics are created around him, but it's really the things I struggle with, and that's how I come up with these topics. So just for your own knowledge. So basically going back to the topic and how I struggled with it this week. And we think it's something so innocent, but we don't really realize how much time, mental space, and energy we take when we have manuals for other people, and how much time it really takes away from us, like focusing on our dreams and our goals. So this gave me a lot of awareness this week. So just to start off with, what is a manual? So this is just like really a rule book that we have for other people in what we should think they should be doing and how they should be behaving. And the funny thing is that we set up this rule books, but we don't actually communicate with the other person. We just assume that they need to know this information. So why do we have these rules? So you know that we do everything in our life because we think it's going to make us feel a certain way. And when we have it, we're going to feel a certain way. So we have these rules and we want other people to follow them so that we can feel better. So instead of us doing the work and working on ourselves and us changing, we want everyone else around us to change. So I think of it as us and every single person in the world, like walking around with this heavy pile of books. And that is really just a rule book for everyone in their lives, and really how unrealistic that is. So that just gives you like a mental picture. So that is, I'm expecting my kids to be a certain way, my husband to maybe act in a certain way, and my friends maybe to phone me on a regular basis. So that can be just like an example of a rule that I have. So it's okay that we have these manuals for other people because that is really just expectations that we have for them. But the problem is when we hook our happiness on the fact that they should be following those rule books. So if my husband doesn't spoil me on my birthday, for instance, or my friend doesn't phone me at least once a week, then I'm not happy. So we should remind ourselves that other people have agency, so they can really live their lives that they see fit. And the best that we can do is really just to make requests. And then it's really up to that other person to decide if they are going to follow those requests or not. And that we should really be unattached to the outcome. So if they follow our rules or not, we can't really make that the determining factor if I can be happy on a specific day or not. So really what serves us most, and I think what I want to offer, is that we just let go of all these manuals and we just drop all of our manuals. And then we can really have the time and space to focus on what I think is important, what I want to control, and what I have control over, and what I have power over, instead of always looking outside myself. So a really fun exercise that you can go and do is just to pick one person in your life and then write down all the rules that you have for that person. And then against each line that you've mentioned is just tell yourself why you want that person to do that. And I think that would just give you a whole lot of awareness about how you will feel if that person then follows your rule book. So as I mentioned, we can always make requests, and it's fair. And I mean, just take in your household, for instance, it's fair to make requests for the people in your life to follow those rules, because I want my kids, for instance, to put their plates away after dinner so that our house can be neat and tidy. And then also, sometimes it is necessary for us to set boundaries for the people in our life, because and again, we set those boundaries from a place of protecting ourselves and not wanting to control the other person. So the exercise I've given you is just to gain awareness about the reasons why you want those people to actually follow those rules. So go and think about relationships and where you want the other person to act a certain way, and really be a person that you want them to be, and how they're not then showing up as the person that they really are. So how do you feel in a relationship where you control and manipulate all the time? And then compare that to a relationship where you don't have any manuals and you don't have any expectations for that person. And that person can really just show up as the person they truly are and just be authentic and be themselves. So I hope that was useful, and have a good weekend, and I'll see you again next week.
Thank you very much. And with that, let's get into a little bit of announcements this morning. As I said, I've got some amazing things that I want to share with you. And the first thing that I want to share with you is that we are going to have an introduction to PROpulsion Pro session, or PROpulsion Pro. What is it all about? So that is happening on the 29th of March at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's only 45 minutes. The idea is just to share exactly what this is about and give you some insight. So if you're not a PROpulsion Pro member, definitely something to attend. And even if you are a PROpulsion Pro member, I think you might learn a couple of things that's available that you may not be aware of. So all is welcome. If you would like to go and register for this, I'm going to put the link on the screen right now. It's propulsion.co.za/intro, and it's just a 45-minute session. We're not going to record anything. It's meant to be a live session. So if you're there, fantastic. And I hope to see quite a few people there just to come and learn about what PROpulsion Pro is about, what is available to you, how you can use it, etc. So that's sort of the first one. So propulsion.co.za/intro is an important event on the 29th, which is not this coming Tuesday, the next one, like in a week and a bit, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. So then the next one is actually the one that I was so excited about, because as you know about the Global Financial Planning Conference by now, we are going to now add a third day, which will be CPD, or a day of CPD is what we're calling it. And the reason for that is that I really worked, and I really want to thank the FPI for working with me on this, because we worked on it and we were looking at how can we approve the content of the conference for CPD. But the problem is that it's such a unique structure, because every speaker only speaks for 10 minutes. And as you know, in South Africa, the current framework, we approve CPD in half an hour increments. So it needs to be at least 30 minutes. And the other problem then that we sit with is, how do you track this? So maybe you watch this session, but not that session. And then you watch this session and not the next one. So it's not like you're going to be in there probably for the entire day, and you'll be in and out. So it becomes very, very difficult then to allocate that and to even combine things together, etc. So what we decided to do was to offer a day of CPD, which is included in the ticket. There's no additional cost. There's no additional nothing. Another 18 CPD points on offer of which 7 of them will be presented live on the day. And then the rest of them is pre-recorded, which you'll have access to and you can do in your own time, but all included, all for free. And you can choose which sessions you want to do. You don't have to do all of them, but there is an opportunity there for 18 verifiable CPD points. And as I said, it's just because of this very unique conference that we're putting out. And also at the end of the day, it's not about the CPD, in my opinion. This is something different. This is something new. This is, sometimes we just need to take time out from just wanting to earn CPD or having to earn CPD, and let's just have fun. Let's learn. Let's grow personally. And there's no CPD points for that because, that's not what brings the value. It's the actual growth and the learning that takes place. So very, very important from my opinion there. So, so please, if you want to purchase tickets, we started to sell now quite a few tickets, and that's very encouraging. And thank you very much to everyone that has purchased a ticket. 290 Rand includes everything, 2 days of the conference, as well as the third day on CPD. So please go and check it out. We've also updated the conference page, so you can find more information there. So when you go to this link, you'll first be taken there, and you can see what is up and what to expect. And we're also going to start to announce the sponsors because we've attracted now quite a few sponsors, and thank you very much. We will announce them in due course, but really excited about that and really humbled actually by that. This is something new and this is something different, and people are getting involved, and we're really, really thankful for that. So thanks a lot for the guys that have jumped on board. There are sponsorship opportunities. Info is on our website. So if you are interested to join this, there's a limited amount of space. So there are a couple of spaces still left, but really, really thank you. So go and purchase. If you're a Profile Me client, you'll pay 185. And if you're a Propulsion Pro member, there is no cost to the ticket. You'll just get a ticket, which we will allocate to you as a member. Alrighty, then the last thing before I can get into today's show is then on save the date, please. So this is not an announcement in terms of that we need to, there's no link, there's no nothing. Just please put this in your diary, the 23rd of August. Save the date, the 23rd of August, the Propulsion Summit. So that's going to happen on the 23rd. We'll announce more details soon. There's some interesting things. Every year there will be a completely different focus for the summit, and I'm excited for this year's focus, which I'll announce in a couple of weeks. But please go put it in your diary. You can always take it out, but please put the 23rd. My birthday is on the 22nd, so if you want to join the party, please put the 23rd of August in your diary, and we'll see you then for the Propulsion Summit, which will be a virtual event this year. And then both the Global Financial Planning Conference as well as the summit next year, we hope to then have as a hybrid event. But let's see how that goes. All right. Sure, that was quite a number of announcements. And now I can finally get into the topic of today, which is delivering a new required level of customer experience. Really excited to share some thoughts and opinions with you and hear what you have to say on this as well. And maybe share some other ideas that you've been doing to up your level of customer experience in the new world. So let's do it. Sure, I just talked myself out of breath, which is a bit weird for me. All right, so what are we talking about? Well, customer experience. And for me, we just need to make this distinction between what is customer experience and what is customer service, because we can deliver great customer service, but that doesn't mean that the experience is so great, or that there's any experience actually from that point. And I think if your customer experience hinges on customer service, then there's a lot of room for improvement. I won't say you have a problem, but what I will definitely say is that you can wow the shoes off of your client. And so definitely something to think about. So when we talk about customer experience, it's really from the time that the client has contact with your business to the day that relationship ends. What was that experience? What were the emotions that were created around that? What are the stories that they will go and tell to their friends and their family and other people that maybe you do want as clients as well? Will you be able to use customer experience to drive customer advocacy, which is a completely different thing on its own again? But customer experience is at the heart of any successful business. It doesn't really matter whether you're a doctor and they have lots of room for improvement, or whether you are a financial planner, or you're in legal, or you're an accountant or tax practitioner. It doesn't really matter. what profession you're in, or even any other kind of business, is if you think about customer experience and you understand their journey, you can really take your business to a whole different world, never mind a different level. So the first sort of part around this is to ask what did great experiences look like in the old world? Now, the old world is obviously now pre this whole new, everybody adopted virtual and is happy to work in a virtual environment. I'm not talking just about us as financial planners, also talking about clients specifically, because that was our biggest thing. As I mentioned previously on the show, that I always wanted to go virtual, but then I still tended to do everything face-to-face, just out of, I don't know, maybe habit. But also, it was such a mission to convince the other person to adopt this different way of working because they wanted to work face-to-face. Now that all of that has been turned on its head, I was when we did the best practice huddle on Wednesday with the PROpulsion Pro members, it was really amazing, some of the conversations that came out of there and some of the information that was shared. And you suddenly realize, and I think you'll see when Rizanne is talking later, that it's really, things have turned on its head much more than we think. And then there were some people that were living in the UK and living in Canada and all sorts of places, or have people that they know that live there. And the thing is that they are still like, we are so far ahead in South Africa. And I think in our minds, we always think we're behind. We have come such a long way, and because of necessity. So we have to. You know, I was watching this video about this guy talking about this article that came out at the post office, the South African post office. I don't know if you saw this. This was actually something David should have mentioned on his part. But the South African post office suspended services to the Ukraine and Russia. So, which is quite funny because they can't even deliver in Krugersdorp or Centurion or Cape Town or wherever. So that's quite a thing. But from that point of view, I just think because we had to deal with things like that, we came up with innovative ways to deal with this, and we adopted technology at a much higher speed than what we maybe realized. And that's really what I'm talking about, this new world versus the old world. So if I look at what great experiences look like in the old world, and it's not like these things are out the door and that we can't use it or anything like that, but sort of what I always advise people to do is envision the journey, right? So there you come as a new client, you park at your office, what does it look like? You walk in, what are you seeing? What is that whole thing? What is that first impressions that's being created? You get to reception, there's a smiling staff member there, very friendly, welcomes you, make you feel welcome and all of that. And then sort of, where is the waiting area? What does it look like? What does it feel like to sit there? If everybody else is passing you, are they friendly, saying hi, making the person feel welcome? And then you sort of say, oh, sure, I need to use the bathroom. And then you go to the bathroom. What does the freaking bathroom look like? That was such a thing for me always, wow, I can't believe people let people go here. But that's an important thing. Okay, so now you don't have to worry about that anymore in the new world, I guess. But from there, now the meeting starts. What does your office look like? What is that experience? All of that. Or are you always meeting clients at coffee shops? So it was this whole thing around that. And I think all of that has now obviously changed, because now 90%, at least I would say, of people would prefer doing it virtual, and every now and then maybe face-to-face. But it means that in the old world, you were in full control. You controlled the environment. It was also a big reason why you wanted people to come to your office. And I know that many financial advisors never did the office-based practice. You went and saw clients at their premises or at the Mug and Bean or wherever, but not an office, which means you couldn't control your environment, and which means you couldn't have a fantastic customer experience from that point of view when they are engaging with you. But doesn't mean that it was bad. Paying for breakfast always wins a lot of points in my books. But you were able to offer these special things, and you were able to do very special sort of little things that you could only do at your office, for example. And you knew that when the client was there, you had their full attention and all of those things. So that was sort of the old world. And I started off by saying when we opened the show this morning, you could offer chocolates or a variety of things for them to eat, a variety of things for them to drink. And that was amazing, because at most places you get coffee. And now you rock up here, you can choose cappuccino, hot chocolate, Earl Grey, rooibos, all those good stuff you could choose, and even smoothies. And, some people really go big with these things. And it's so nice because it is so different and you stood out. And now suddenly people are not coming to your office. You can't do that anymore. And that's sort of the first part where I want to start. So if that is what a great experience looks like in the old world, I guess the question then becomes, but what would it look like in the new world? And I am going to share some key elements of a great customer experience. So what is today, what is necessary if you want to create that? There's certain key elements. So it's not so much about the stuff that you do. It's these key principles that needs to be embedded in that customer experience in a virtual world, and it must be able to translate to the physical world as well. So I'm going to look at that, and then I upped my 3 ideas to 5 ideas to level up your customer experience. So we are going to get into that. But what creates these great customer experiences? And I think a big thing is to make it easy for people. So it's just, removing as much friction as you can. That is most important. Remove all the friction you possibly can. Make it easy for people. Let them have choice around how they want to do things, etc. So that is sort of the first thing I think that looks like. But then the other thing that makes a great experience is something that works and that's slick. Because the last thing you want, like I had a meeting with one of the sponsors for the conference on Tuesday, and can you believe it, that in all my years, I could not get into the meeting. Like it didn't work. And it's a Teams meeting. Like that is so frustrating. So for me, if it frustrates me and it wasn't their fault, I don't know what the hell was wrong. I had to restart my machine and get back in. So the issue wasn't on their side. But it was still this frustrating experience. Now I can just imagine if you have a client on the other end that has the same thing happen and they don't know where to go, they don't know where to start, they don't know what to change or anything like that. So what do? So making it simple and easy and clear around what they can, what they must do. So the guidance and sort of, getting them in there, because we assume that everybody knows how to use the stuff. They do until something goes wrong. So it's just important to keep it simple. I've seen this so many times. If I think about the software we use in order to live stream this, I'm on those Facebook groups and I can see what people ask. And every time something goes wrong and something doesn't work, it's because they try and get fancy. It's because they don't understand what this piece of software is meant to do, and they want to use it for things it was not built to do. And that's something to be very wary of, that whatever you do in this customer experience, don't use something or implement something that is not meant to do the thing that you want it to do. And you think you can. This is almost like using a car to plow the farmlands. It's like, yeah, it probably can for a little while, but it's not going to be as efficient. It's not going to work as well. It's going to be a lot of frustration there. So definitely those are the things I believe that will create great experiences in the new world. But let's get into the key elements. So key elements of great customer experience today. And there's sort of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And I want to share this with you. And the very first one, and this is also, there was a whole episode on this particular thing here in I think it was season 2 or season 1 even. But that's consistency. It is the absolute secret to all your success. But from a customer experience point of view, is you've got to ensure that there's consistency, which is also one of the things that we discussed in the best practice huddle on Wednesday, just as an add-on sort of discussion to what we were actually talking about in there. But there's certain things that you can implement and do in order to create this consistency. But you don't want a customer experience that does this. Like it mustn't go up and down, up and down, up and down. It must be consistent. And if it's consistent, it means that the second element will then become part of this customer experience, and that is predictability. Because clients like to know what to expect. Because the one thing, if they don't know what to expect, they don't know where to set their expectations, which is always a problem. And which means for some clients, you will meet their expectations. For some of them, you'll exceed them. But for most of them, you'll probably not meet their expectations because there was nothing that set that expectation. And if your customer experience is, then it's fantastic, then it's, there's nothing. And then it's fantastic, and then there's not. That is a big problem. And it means that you're not predictable and people don't know what to expect. And that is a massive problem. And that's when people get frustrated and when they leave or there's fighting happening and all that good stuff. So that's the second one. The third one is that a great customer experience today must have saving someone's time at the heart of it. It is our most precious commodity. Our most precious asset is time. It's the one thing we can't get more of. You know this. We can't find more of it. It doesn't stand still. We can't pause it. We can't speed it up. We can't slow it down. We've got absolutely no control over time. It is the only thing in the world, in the universe, that just ticks on at the same pace all the time. And therefore, if we can save people time, then that would mean this is a great customer experience. Then simplicity. Simplicity is absolutely key. If we can make it as easy as possible, as I said earlier, I think that is the key to all of this. So it doesn't mean that it needs to be simplistic, because there's a massive difference between simplicity and simplistic. I think simplicity is taking something complex but making it easy for people. So what they see and what they experience is simple, and that, you know, underneath the bonnet, it may be a crazy sort of area full of wires and all sorts of funny things happening. But that's not something that the client needs to know or needs to see. From there, it's simple, it's easy to deal with you, and that's key. The last one is then flexibility. And a lot of things, I think people in this vein maybe also talk about personalization, you know, making things personal. It's sort of custom to me, it's tailored to me. But flexibility for me means that the client has options. So they can choose to do this or this or that, or work with you in this way or that way or that way. And they have these things that they can choose. And it seems like, but Francois, how do I manage something like that? Because it's absolutely crazy. If you think about, like, I've got 400 clients, how can I do the same thing in 400 different ways? What you'll find is that you won't. You probably do it in 3 different ways or 4 different ways at most. Because everybody thinks that everything is so unique and so personal. But you start putting everything together, you look at the data, and then you realize that, whoa, there's a massive overlap, and I can do this for that group of people, and suddenly you've got only 3 or 4 offerings, 3 or 4 ways of working, and you can manage that. So absolutely no problem. So those are the 5 key elements. So let me run through them again. Consistency, predictability, time saving, simplicity, and flexibility. So those are the 5 key elements. So if you look at your customer experience, you look at that journey that a client goes through in their life while they are a client of yours, can you see these 5 elements in there? If not, where can you introduce them into your customer experience and that client journey? Right. So then we've got the 5 ideas. Right. So I've got 5 ideas. Sticking to the thing, I want to make it 5 simple ideas, because often, you know, when we need to design this customer experience, we get overwhelmed because it's this massive thing that we need to think about. It's like, where do I start? I want to do all these wonderful things. How do I implement all of this? It's going to take me forever. And then let me just do the way that I used to do it. Now I want to change that today. I'm going to say, here are 5 simple ideas that you can use to level up your customer experience. And some of them maybe you are doing already, and some of them you are definitely not doing. But it's some simple things that you can consider. Right, so let me get into it. The first one is appointment booking. So how do we make it easy for clients to book appointments with us, and to make sure that they are reminded? Remember, you don't confirm appointments, because as soon as you confirm an appointment, and I've got the whole thing on this, how to create a great virtual customer experience with your virtual meeting. So there's a whole program that's available on Circulus. But very important that we don't confirm appointments, because as soon as you go, hello, Johan, it is Francois, I just would like to confirm if we're still on for 3 o'clock. And that's what I'm saying, and what I'm hearing is like, I just want to say, listen, this is a reminder. But what Johan is hearing is that, hey, here's an opportunity to get out of this. As Francois, you know, in fact, this happened, please can we reschedule? And you go like, because that's one of the complaints that I get all the time, is that people don't stick to the appointments. So they make these appointments, but they don't show, or they move, or they cancel, or they do things like this. And a subtle change is to remind them about their appointment. So this is a reminder. We are meeting at 3. We look forward. We have prepared well, and I can't wait to meet with you. How does somebody get out of that? Because like somebody's already prepared. They know you're coming. They're just reminding you that you need to be there. So there's not much room for getting out of that. But anyway, so if you think about that, as well as then follow up afterwards, thank you for meeting with us. You know, if you have any questions, or you know what, you missed your meeting, we know life happens, you know, can we reschedule, etc. So all of those things can actually be automated in some sense, or at least made easy. Because too often when it gets to appointment bookings is that we need to go, hello, Johan, you would like to meet with me? I'm available on Tuesday this time, Wednesday that time, and Friday that time. Johan comes back and says, Francois, unfortunately, I can't do that, but I can do this. And then Francois goes, okay, but I can't do that, but I can do this. You know this. And even if it doesn't matter whether it's you doing this or it's some of your admin staff helping you and assisting you, it is absolutely a big, big problem and a big frustration. So by having something where they can just go, click, and make that appointment when they need to, then that makes it so much easier. And we always give clients an option. We go, you know what? Yeah, here's more options. Or if it's easier for you, if these doesn't suit you, you're welcome to use our link to go and fit in, because they already agreed to the appointment. So that's one way of just making that easier. And even in your review process, that can help quite a lot. And you can set up workflows that will automatically remind them and automatically thank them and all sorts of stuff. So that's definitely one way. Right. So idea number one. Idea number two, the quality of your virtual setup. Now, you will not believe the difference it makes. Why? Because, look at this. Let me do this. So if you're listening to the podcast, unfortunately, you won't be able to see this, but I do want to just show the viewers watching at the moment that, if you look at that, so same setup, same everything, but now I have got my laptop camera. I'm looking down at you. It's grainy. It's not, and it's the same light. It's the same room. Everything is the same. The background, fantastic background, in my opinion. It's just amazing. I could even go like that and do this so that it looks a little bit, you don't see the roof. But I mean, compare this quality of video and then, look at what it could look like. So there you go. So back to this view, the quality is just so much easier to look at. It just is impressive. I always get people commenting on, wow, it looks nice. And if I'm not in my studio, because sometimes I'm lazy, so I do sit at the dining room table, they're like, but where's your studio? Why are you not in your studio? Because it becomes a thing and it just enhances the experience because everybody else is doing it the grainy way. So you don't want to do that. So invest into a proper webcam. At least they are like just over 2,000 Rand, the proper ones that I really recommend, which is a Logitech C922 or 6920 or even the C925. So the Logitech cameras are absolutely great. But those are the ones that I would absolutely 100% stand by. And then I'm not even talking about if you've got the budget to go and upgrade to like a proper mirrorless camera, but that's going to cost you at least 10 or 11 grand to do that. And there's other issues that come with it. So I think at least a 15,000 investment if you want to have a proper massive camera that really goes like high quality and you've got control over all the settings and that. But for 2,000 Rand, you can have a fantastic camera with a fantastic setup. Looking at your background, the light is so important. I think, we always say audio is the most important thing, because if the audio is crackling or the audio is soft or the audio is not great, it's very hard. I mean, you can close your eyes and not look at the video, but you can't really do that with your ears. So audio is very important, but I think lights are just as important. So spend time getting comfortable with this and how you can have a setup that at least looks professional. And still, I won't say I hate, but I don't like these virtual backgrounds. Some of them are great. If you have great lighting on you and your camera is good, it actually, you sometimes battle to tell the difference. But rather invest in getting a proper, you have your office. Doesn't matter the fact that it's at home or in your garden shed or in your garage or wherever you're doing this. Make sure that you have a proper setup. Invest into it. Because that impression, that experience and everything is just enhanced exponentially. So that will be the second one. So the quality of your virtual setup. Then third one, access to information for clients. And here I'm really referring to things like client portals. All the systems basically have them. There are standalone client portals that one can use. But making information available, because there's a lot of benefit that come from this. Number one, you look at the stats where people are using client portals. It's late at night. It's the weirdest times that clients log into these client portals. And yeah, many of them never log in, but we found that a lot of them do log in once a month at least. And it's the most weirdest hours of the day that they do that. So giving access to that information that you can actually control that would be then amazing. So definitely think about that. There's so many benefits. They can update certain information that you allow them to. You can send documents back and forth. Even signatures can be done via these things. So very, very important that one considers about, how do I provide my client access to their information? Very, very important. We're going to have people on the show in a couple of weeks that I saw a system of, which is really, really awesome. And really looking forward to getting to chat to them around, it's more on the fiduciary side of things, but it's really, really interesting what they have done. And there's similar other systems out there, but they've done some really unique things. But that's a simple way of giving people access to the information as well. Right. The fourth thing is then to offer different entry points. Now, I can't stress how important this is. So offer different entry points for clients. Now, that means, when clients wanted to meet with you, they can come to your office. You can meet them at their place, or you could do a virtual meeting. So that is one part of it. But the other things are, how can people communicate with you? Now, I prefer, for example, communicating via WhatsApp, and I want to be able to send you a voice note or a text or whatever I want to do. Other people would want to prefer to send emails. Other people still on SMS. Some people actually want to communicate with you via your Facebook page or via your Instagram account or your LinkedIn. And do we allow clients these opportunities? And do we actually make it easy for them to be able to do that, to just click on it and then go to that? And here's my communication way of my choice of communication, and I can just do it directly from here. So this is very, very important in my opinion. And it comes back to that flexibility. And if you think about all these things, consistency, predictability, time saving, simplicity, and flexibility is all part of all of these things that I've shared with you thus far. Then the fifth idea, and this is now going back to the big leather couches and the nice tables and music in the background, nice smells in the air because you made sure that it's great. Offering chocolates and croissants and even toasted and whatever, and these fantastic, weird and wonderful teas and coffees prepared by a barista. And, if you really went next level. So all of that, how can we replace this? And what can we do to go to sort of translate from the virtual world to the physical world? In my mind, there's something very simple, and that is home delivery. So deliver something. So if you had a leather-bound file that you used to give all your clients, still do that. Have it delivered to their home. Have a basket that you deliver to a new client. If somebody has a meeting with you and the meeting is a week from now, why not deliver something to them in person that would detail of how to go through the process of meeting with you or what to expect from you? Or send something with a QR code that they can scan, and there's a welcome video and say, listen, man, I'm Francois, and I'm so excited to meet with you, and blah, 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 blah. So how do we just make these things work together? So home delivery, think about something that you can deliver to their home, when you would do it, why you would do it, and for who you would do it, because maybe this is only for certain clients and not for everyone, but definitely that. Right, so 5 ideas. Appointment bookings, look at that. The quality of your virtual setup. Can't overstress that enough. Access to client information, offer different entry points for clients, and home delivery. So those are 5 ideas of how you can level up your customer experience today. And you don't have to do all 5 of them. Choose one and make it work well for you. And then do a second one and make that work well, and a third one, etc. Or add your own thing. So if you have some ideas, please share that in the chat. I see there's quite a few things happening in the chat. I will get to that in a second. But I first need to share with you, how do we keep leveling up? Because, things keep changing and things keep moving, and clients, the demands go up and the expectations change all the time. And the thing is, are we staying with that, right? So if we talk about just how do I keep leveling up, for me, there's sort of also 5 very, very simple things that one could do. The first one is you have to create, and this is a new term I learned, by the way, so it's not something that I knew of, but it is a new term that I learned recently. But there's always on opportunity for clients to give feedback. And there's many system providers that do this very successfully. There's many financial advisors who do this very, very successfully. And what I mean by always on is that there's always this link, for example, at the bottom of your email saying, please rate my service. Or whenever you've done something for a client, there is a link that gets emailed to them or WhatsApp to them to say, please rate our service. Please give us feedback. But not just that, what you also need to do is to make sure that they can at any time go and find a link like that and give you feedback. So that's what I mean with always on. There was in all the different places, if you think about the always on thing, and you think about the different entry points, like how do I make this available on all those entry points where people can just give me feedback? Feedback is your friend. Feedback is what you need to grow your business and to enhance your customer experience, your value proposition, and all of that. The second thing is to proactively engage with clients, to literally ask them, because not all of them are going to click that link and then go in and give you feedback and take the time. And even if they do, sometimes it's very short feedback and you want to know more. So also proactively engage with clients around their experience of your business and what it's like to work with you and your team, etc. The way you work. What do they think about your meetings? What would be great for them? So proactively engage some of them. The third one is to study your data. You won't believe, because you sit with all this data in your CRM or your Excel file or wherever you're keeping this, but study that data. Look for trends. Look for things that you can improve. Look for things that people are asking over and over again. If you've got a good task management system and you categorize and tag these things properly, you will be able to see that there's a certain problem that keeps creeping up. It just doesn't stop. So there's an opportunity to improve the customer experience. Find out, maybe it's the service provider you're using. Maybe it's your process. Maybe it's a training issue, whatever it may be. But there's little things like that one can identify from looking at your data. The fourth one is to study trends in other industries. And you know that I'm big on this. I really believe in this. And I've had people on the show like Barry Austin. He's a mountain bike coach, and we learned so much from him. That was episode 2. If you missed that, go check it out. But it's been like you learn so much from other businesses and other professions and other industries to see what's happening there. And that is really something that can help you shape your customer experience, because your customers' expectations are going to come from other industries. It's not what we create and where we say, oh, we're now going from A to B. No, they experience something in another industry and they go to themselves like, but geez, wouldn't it be fantastic if my financial planner did this, or if the financial services industry did this, or the banking industry or whatever? That's what's happening. And that's where you can find a lot of gold and things where you can really distinguish yourself from the rest. And then a big one for me, I learned this as a broker consultant back in 1998. Steal. You need to steal with your eyes. Don't physically take stuff, you'll be locked up. But, steal with your eyes. See what other people are doing. Look at what's happening. When we have people on the show, have a look at what their video backgrounds look like and their setup look like, and etc. And learn from that and say, well, I'm going to incorporate that one element. Or I'm going to redo the whole thing because this is just next level stuff. Whatever it may be, but steal with your eyes. Just be open. It's almost like, when you want to buy a certain car, suddenly you see them everywhere on the road. As soon as you start looking for these things, you start seeing them everywhere. So just be open to say, I'm at this point in this. Like we went to the barnyard the other night. I was watching the show, Queen and ABBA. Fantastic, but I'm looking at the lights and listening to the sound, and I'm looking at what they're doing and how things are positioned. And so my mind is wired in a completely different manner at the moment, because I'm learning all the time about how I can do this for my show and for what it is that we do and the content and everything that we create. So, so that's that. So keen to quickly just run through the comments. There is a hell of a lot of comments, so thank you so much for that. Let us go quickly. So Quivers, the virtual digital world allows for an enhanced experience without traveling, ease of appointments, efficient and productive meetings, borderless, crisp technology, and super convenient. Absolutely. Lelani said SA is miles ahead. Fantastic. Quivers, in April, I'm adding a new dimension offering to clients with technology of note with a special new world experience. That's awesome. I can't wait to see what you're doing. Good morning, Russell. Awesome to see you. Quivers goes, and I know this because we shared some of these surveys and things. I conducted 2 surveys over the last 2 years on client experience with annual reviews and virtual platforms, 10 easy checkbox questions to personalize, and it makes such a massive difference. So yeah, and some interesting insights that sort of come from that. Right, Jonita, I can relate to my children not taking plates back, Norma. Sorry with that, Jonita, I'm sorry. And then Terence says, love your 5th idea. Think I'm going to try this. Fantastic. Do that. Thanks, Terence. What else have we got? Let's quickly see. Tracy says she loves that illustration. Makes a massive difference. Thank you very much, Tracy. And Barry says golden nuggets. Right. It is time now for Brandworks with Rizanne. And I'm really excited to hear what the state of digital is in 2022 in South Africa specifically, and what has changed over the last year.
A very good morning to everybody here. Yes, it's truly exciting. Stats have been slow to come out, but they are coming out, and there's some really incredible insights in there. For me, overall, poring over about 450 different types of slides from We Are Social and Hootsuite, and there are various other data points. There are 4 main things that are standing out at this stage. We're still scratching the surface on the data, but definitely the 4 things that are the most relevant to South Africa and the most relevant to you as a financial planner are decentralization, the rate of digital adoption in South Africa, WhatsApp remaining the top dog in South Africa, and conversational education. So we won't be able to get into all of them today, but we're going to jump into the meat of it, and maybe we can look at some of them a little bit later. Before the pandemic, we would believe that South Africa is about nearly about 5 years behind in digital adoption. We certainly accelerated that during the pandemic. We did see that. And the stats coming out now is showing that in spite of certain restrictions and infrastructure problems that we have, we are still leading the pack in other arenas. So that's very exciting. Now, bear in mind, as of January 2020, South Africa's population is sitting at 60.4 million. And also our internet adoption and penetration is only sitting at about 68%. It's still behind in the global curve. That's 41.9 million users. Our social media penetration is only at 46%. That's 28 million users. So we're still behind in the world there. But in spite or despite or in spite of those factors, we've jumped ahead leaps and bounds in other arenas. So I've got some slides here that I'm pulling up to the screen to show you how our digital adoption has gone, and this is really the exciting and the meaty bit of this. Daily time spent on using the internet, South Africa is sitting the highest in the world. We're spending 11 hours a day using the internet. The global curve there indicated there at 7 hours. So South Africa certainly is spending a ton of, almost twice the amount of hours on the internet opposed to the global average. Our time spent using the internet, using mobiles, South Africa again, way ahead there on the global averages at 5 hours, and you'll see the global average there sitting at 3 3/4. Mobile share of web traffic, accessing the web via our mobiles, South Africa second highest in the world at 76.4%, way ahead there again. Now, you might ask, if we're spending so much time on the internet, what are we doing on the internet? Now, this gets really, really interesting, and it adds up to the bigger conclusion. Chat and messaging, social networks, these are the things that we are doing the most on the internet. Search, it's no surprise for me where search is at the moment. That will be a steady one going forward for a while. Maps is an interesting one, and I would love to talk about that one a little bit more in depth later on. Finance, engaging with investment finance and banking apps, sitting at 28.8%. I've put that in as a benchmark there. It might seem low, but going on to the next one, the use of online financial services via the internet, South Africa is ranking the highest in the world. So the worldwide average is 30%. South Africa is sitting on 51.4%. We know that in 2020, mobile fueled 45% more financial engagement. We don't have a comparison metric for that this year just as yet. But going on to this, I would say that definitely, engaging with financial services on the internet, South Africa is way ahead there, which is really, really nice for us. Now, looking at the most used social media platforms in South Africa for 2022, WhatsApp still remaining top dog. Just looking at messaging apps there, Facebook messaging pretty much remaining the same. Telegram, a huge leap from last year, 41.8%. Last year it was only sitting at 19.7%. But certainly WhatsApp still remaining the top dog. YouTube, there is not a stat for YouTube, but I'll talk about video just a little bit later. All of those social media channels pretty much remaining the same, but TikTok coming up fast and furious, and it's certainly something for you to start looking into. Now, what is South Africa's most favorite social media platforms? WhatsApp, as you can see, top dog, way ahead, 36.8%, and you'll see the rest listed there. If you're thinking between Telegram and WhatsApp, I wouldn't jump ship just yet. LinkedIn is very low. There's a reason for that, but do bear in mind that South Africa is a very high user country of LinkedIn. And then if we look at, just coming back to video, if you're using video, remain using video. South Africa is second highest in the world there, 66.9%, using video as a source of learning. And going down there, just a final little tidbit. Ownership of cryptocurrency globally, South Africa very much high up in the rankings. You'll see the global average there, and right at the end of the curve, you'll see Russia right there at the end. So certainly, I want to take these slides down now. There we go. I hope I've removed that successfully. There we go. So certainly, as you can see, although we've got a low level of, or still a growing level of penetration in internet adoption, it's growing at about 12% a year, which is actually quite high. In spite of this, we are still leaps and bounds in digital adoption. So if you look at all of these stats all together, sorry, I'm just looking for a little stat here. Yeah. If you look at all of this together, if you look at the time that we are spending on mobile, if you look at the favorite things that we are doing on mobile, like chatting and using social, if you look at the high engagement rate on financial platforms, and looking at the fact that WhatsApp remains a top dog and top performer with a 96% penetration rate in South Africa, my question to you before we go would be, what are your plans for conversational education via video in 2022? And that's all for me. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you very much. What a wonderful show today. I really, really enjoyed it. I wish we could go for 2 hours. Very interesting enough, with the state of digital, we are going to have a full-on session on PROpulsion Pro on this, and Rizanne, her and I will be in conversation around this, and we're going to do that in PROpulsion Pro. So really looking forward to that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week from Hermanus, from all places. So excuse me. So yeah, doing going to Cape Town next week, and then we'll be in Hermanus on Friday. So we will be broadcasting live from Hermanus. So looking forward to that. We've broadcasted from quite a few interesting places before, and this is going to top the list, I'm pretty sure. But please have a great weekend. Be safe, be blessed, prosper. Remember to raise the bar. Love you. Bye-bye.